Imagine, if you will, you were given a chance to spend $30 million in 30 days. But if you do successfully, you get $300 million. And if you fail, you get nothing. Can you imagine that?
I can't really imagine that.
Well, I can because we saw Brewster's Millions. And we're here to talk about the 40th anniversary of Brewster's Millions, a movie both myself and Lauren Conner grew up on. I am Eric Conner, and this is my Millions right to my right here. Lauren Conner making her Geekscape debut. Say hello.
Hello. Hi.
We're here to talk about this movie that we grew up watching. I know we look really young, or at least she does. And we watch this thing on HBO like all the time. It's the ultimate wish fulfillment movie, right? It's the idea of like, I don't know, go to Cold Stone and eat, and you'll never gain weight and you won't get an ice cream headache. What would you compare it to as far as a dream scenario?
It reminded me of like Harry Potter, like out of nowhere, some uncle that you never heard of bequeaths you with this fabulous and odd gift.
Right. And it's a curse. That's the thing. And one of the funny things about this movie, and we'll talk about things we liked about it, things that maybe I don't know how well all of it aged, but it's still a pretty charming film with a fantastic Richard Pryor. But by the way, I have to explain. The modern Brewster's Millions, Mr. Beast. Yes, I own a Mr. Beast shirt. I don't know why or how I got this shirt. All I know is it was bequeathed upon me by a crazy uncle
Is that word again?
who basically said, you wear this shirt for 30 days, and if you successfully do it, and Iggy Pup agrees, our dog is coming in. Our $30 million dog is coming in.
Okay.
He's probably like a $3 dog. So, hello, buddy.
Hello.
Hey, buddy. So we watched this movie again, and not only did we watch this, we did a bit of a deep dive. Lauren
Yep.
watched the original, well, not even the original, one of the many originals.
Yeah, one thing when we started doing this, realized that there have actually been, I believe, at least like 13 film adaptations of the source material for Brewster's Million, which was written in the early 1900s. So we watched a movie from 1946, I believe. There's some things that are interesting, and I've read a little bit of the original book as well. What I found crazy is this is a 1980s, ridiculous. I don't know. I think of it like Easy Money or like these other,
right.
or any of these movies. I don't know. Can't Buy Me Love. Like these are movies that all kind of existed in this world that nobody really does exist in. And yet it's actually something that's over 100 years old and continues to be relevant despite it being sort of an odd plot that doesn't seem to, it's not like most people think this is what they want in real life.
Well, and I think one thing that's kind of fun watching it now is basically we now have a lot of things that were in this movie kind of come to pass. So my Mr. Beast shirt, by the way, don't I the same hat as the photographer?
Kinda.
I'm old enough, gray enough, and swarthy enough to play a photographer who's constantly stealing. I'm actually
Okay.
This is my putting it out to the universe. Hopefully, one of y'all make that film. Since this movie came out, we've had well, not to get political, but a certain person has become president of our country twice who may or may not have been a reality show host, not even a contestant. We have had a million different versions of this kind of idea, right? Spend, here's the money, here's the prize. You just get it sort of, you
don't earn it, you sort of just happened upon it.
Right.
But should we go back and maybe explain the premise? Because I don't know I assume everyone's seen it, but maybe they haven't.
And if they haven't, I mean, why are you watching? But here it is. What is the premise? How would you pitch it, Lauren?
So Montgomery Monty Brewster, played by, as Eric mentioned, Richard Pryor, is a down on his luck minor league baseball player,
like in the twilight of his career.
Right. And he and best friend played by John Candy, which is always good to have him there in anything.
That's a heart. Not terribly shit.
What are you?
Or is it
might be what is that? He finds out an uncle of his died and left him $30 million. But the catch is that he has to spend it all within 1 month. And if he does and has nothing to show for it, no assets, no actual cash, nothing left, just the clothes on his back, he will get $300 million. And the premise in the film is that his uncle or great uncle said, well, I learned, had to work hard because my father made me smoke until I got sick. And so I never wanted to smoke
Help me
again.
with that cigar. You know what he made me do? He made me smoke all of them in that closet. And now he has like emphysema. So like, and also by the way, he never even met.
He didn't know him. In this case, he
And he's-
never met him.
And he's like punishing this guy who's like his bastard great nephew.
Something kind of weird, right? So
What'd he do?
there are few caveats that he can only give a certain amount to charity, so he can't spend wildly on things that don't like that are above value. He can't spend too much money on something. He also can't tell anyone, which really is kind of the clincher in terms of isolating somebody
Right,
to having to do this, but without, if he was able to like work with his best friends, that would have been great. John Candy plays his best friend. There was also a lovely woman assigned to him to help him out. So of course, love story ensues. But then you have the bankers, and the bankers, a little bit like Trading Places kind of thing, where there's a few people who will get the money if he fails. So they are setting him up to fail throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's also a trend in 1980s films, right? The bad guys in every 1980s comedies are bankers or like land barons, right? Usually with a model of the city they want to build.
Right.
That gets over
Been
to
open history, but
yeah,
right. Monty spends time spending money in all the ways he knows how, getting good advice, bad advice he ignores, to try to spend it all without telling anyone. But a few things that, Eric mentioned, the photographer. So somehow, right from the beginning, the newspapers publish, Monty Brewster, inherits $30 million. So he's on display throughout the whole period of time where he's trying to get rid of his money while pretending he's not trying to get rid of his money.
Yeah, and you could see how easily, and like at some point, they're going to be doing another one of these. And they did one
They did one a year ago.
Right? That was like a Christmas movie
version of it. It's like his niece, I think.
Right. And so the idea of like an influencer, I mean, this is actually, that's the part of the movie you watch in it. It could be right now, like he's being followed by media, everyone's reporting on him. And you think of like, I don't know, take your pick, the Britney Spears, the Taylor Swifts, the Corey Feldmans, of course, all the greats, like people who are just constantly in the public eye. And that's him for like a month. Like it's like all of New York. And by the way, setting this thing in New York City, it feels like this is the only city you could put this thing in.
Yeah.
LA, maybe you would add a celebrity side. He'd be on more TV shows, maybe.
And as far as I can tell, all the versions are in New York.
Yeah. Well, but because it speaks to like this idea too of also little things like walking around, just constantly being followed. It's like the Pied Piper.
Right.
And he's overpaying for everything. Even though they had these rules. Suffices, the rules are a little soft.
Right.
Inconsistent.
He needs to have receipts for everything. He can hire people for seemingly to do anything for any amount of money.
As long as there's a receipt.
As long as there's a receipt.
He didn't. One thing I would have. There was no high-end hookers in this.
There were no high-end hookers. There were no low-end hookers either.
Or medium-end hookers. Well, not my personal choice.
Maybe. We're not sure.
Hookish.
We're not sure.
No drugs.
Fun things to spend the money on, though. He bid on some fancy, lot of champagne or wine and then opened all of it up. Or the best is with the stamp.
Yeah, you buy the upside-down airplane stamp and mail it. How genius is that?
And he mailed it to the bankers as kind of a little bit of an FU, but it was fun.
It was a brilliant FU, though. And what I also love, too, his negotiating is always about paying people more.
Yeah.
He's like, that's way too little. No. You got to go up. Or some guy hits him with his car, and by the end of it, he's written him a check for $200,000 to get medical attention. So he's constantly finding ways to add zeros where he can. But one of the really fun things in this movie I kind of forgot about was every time it seemed like he was getting ahead of the curve, his friends, who really are his friends, John Candy's character, who is the best friend we all want, he basically keeps making money for him on the sly.
Right.
And every time it's like, what?
Any bad investment ends up, he hits the long shot.
Oh, yeah. Every long shot.
Every long shot, every horse race, right? Every stock.
Yeah, he invests in moving an iceberg to somewhere in the world that needs water. And it's like the most, as some would say, the most fakakta idea out there, and yet that makes money.
And in the
He can't lose.
1945 version, it's the same type of thing. It's
Yeah, yeah.
horse racing. It's a lot of, stocks, which if you're going to have to spend money and not have assets, it seems dangerous to invest or gamble in anything. I mean, yes, it's a long shot.
Right.
but
What
it
if?
just doesn't seem like the right thing. Some of the things he does that make sense. He rents a lot of things. He rents a wardrobe. He rents the floor of the hotel, I believe.
And he spends the whole movie
floor-
renovating it.
Renovating the thing that he doesn't actually own.
Right, he rents. And that might be
hiring the driver and the photographer.
fleet of drivers, photographer.
garage.
And then we realized, so we did a little homework before this, and we're like, all right, famous people who lost a lot of money. And besides, of course, Corey Feldman, MC Hammer. MC Hammer was worth at his peak, was it 80 million, 70 million?
Yeah.
And then he went bankrupt. Now he's still doing great. They think, listen, he's too legit to quit. We all know that. So he's still doing fine. But he lost so much money, and he had an entourage of 200
people at one point with a $1 million per month payroll.
Yeah.
At the time, just to have people following him around. And then he did a lot of investing in his house in ways that actually took away value.
He put like 30 million to a house that he wound up selling for 5 million.
Well, the pool shape, like the parachute pants, really can't be beat.
We have that, but we're obviously, you could see by the jacket and the hat and Mr. Beast shirt, we're extremely wealthy.
But also the gold statues of himself and the hammer time on the right. So I think the idea of doing things that actually take away value. Eric proved me wrong. I said it seems like really hard to lose all this money, and Eric pulled up MC Hammer.
Yeah.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A through Z, I would say. I'm sad to say. Although, again, he still has it. And somehow you can go bankrupt, lose all that money, and still be rich.
And still be given hundreds of thousands of dollars by people to invest.
He owes like 500,000 or something to Deion Sanders. So, yeah, I guess money begets money. And this is something you said was so brilliant.
Oh.
One of the reasons I have my wife here, besides my undying love, is she has an MBA. So I figure we talk about a movie dealing with finance, I got to get the greatest MBA. And you were talking about how hard it is when you're rich to lose money.
There's this piece of like, it is a lot easier to make, an extra $1 million when you're starting off with $1 million, right? So yes, they're long shots, but if you do enough of those, some of them will pay off, right? Where if it's just like, some schlub or like us, we put all our money in one, we're just putting in one thing.
Raise your hand if you bought Enron stock.
No.
Oh, what'd you buy that?
I didn't buy Enron stock.
What was the one you bought that lost all the money?
Everything. I lost all the money.
Everything else.
WorldCom.
Asbestos.
No, but so, there's a theoretically some, thoughts on class here. It's not great.
It doesn't
quite follow.
It doesn't go deep.
One of the things in sort of the earlier versions in the book and in the 45 or 46, and they seem to be upwardly mobile, if not they're middle class maybe, but the Richard Pryor character is painted as kind of nothing has ever worked out for him, and he's kind of at the end of the road there. Like he's at the last game to say like he's not going to be playing Major League ever, but he's probably not going to be playing minor league very much.
Yeah. Well, he's not a young man. And I love too the idea of John Candy as an athlete. That gives me so much hope.
I miss the 80s.
Oh, I know, right? When baseball players and wrestlers look like I do, I always felt so seen in the 80s, less so now. And I think like it actually adds a bit of pathos to the storytelling, right? That he does have that. He always has that dream of pitching. I could go 3 innings with any team, and then he couldn't, despite spending money.
Right, he spends the money to take his minor league team and do
the Hackensack Bulls.
The Hackensack Bulls,
right?
Hackensack, New Jersey, for those of you who are not familiar, and to play against the New York Yankees. So he charters a helicopter, a plane to like basically go back and forth to play the Yankees for 3 innings, and he's the pitcher. And he gets pulled before the end of the game.
Right, because he gives up a grand slam. And that's actually a moment that's a little wistful. I mean, like, I'm surprised that, you actually care about that. And
Yeah.
and then that's also when he realizes he might actually win the election. This is where he puts the rest of his money. Think of all the great people who ran for office. Who maybe should never have run for office. The first election I was able to vote in California, I
Mhm.
think yours too, was the recall election, which featured Gary Coleman and Mary Carey, a porn star, on our ballot, along with, of course, our eventual governor, the
Arnold
star of
Schwarzenegger.
Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Monty Brewster actually doesn't run. He just says, "Look at these two idiots running. I don't think you should vote for either of them."
None of the above.
Vote for none of the above. So he puts money into this election to like just sort of scale, like kill it. And then at one point, the two guys get together to sue him, which is great for him because
Yeah.
then
He settles out of
he
court.
settles out of court and he can
That's
pay
really
money. But to Eric's point earlier, every time he gets close to sort of running out of money, something happens. Like one of the stocks starts to grow, or the investments are paying off, or the racehorse, catches up. So he just keeps like
He
he
keeps
keeps
tripping into more
failing, right?
money.
He's like failing at losing.
Right. And the fact that he can't tell anyone, and the relationship he has with was she a paralegal accountant? She seems to have
Yeah.
like 25
It's
jobs.
like paralegal financial babysitter.
Right. And she's actually a really like well-drawn character in that she's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And she's like really insulted by him. And then when he runs for mayor, that's when she actually comes around on him. Because that's when she's like, "Oh, wait, this guy's actually like doing some good now with his money." But then, of course, the second that she seems to turn the corner on him, he does something quote unquote stupid to lose more money, thus losing her respect. So you do see like a steady climb in the relationship, and her boyfriend, played by the
Stephen Collins.
Stephen Collins, who got his own issues,
Mhm.
a former star of Seventh Heaven, who I think is now seven to life in jail. I know he's had a rough go. Uh, he plays the classic '80s sort of other boyfriend, right? The bad guy who's
Who's kind of just white milk toast a bit.
yeah, and just trying to ruin it for Monty. Um, i- this time, so Richard Pryor, kind of have to talk about Richard Pryor because this premise has been floating around for like 100 years,
Mhm.
basically. It is an old concept that got a new coat of paint repeatedly through history, but then you put Richard Pryor in this role.
Mhm.
Richard Pryor in the '80s, he was kind of everywhere, and yet the Richard Pryor we got
Was like after the fact a little,
right,
right?
was like the one from the '70s was the one that was like peak Richard Pryor.
Mhm.
He made some decisions in the '80s less than great.
Mhm.
He also started to get sick towards the end of the '80s into the
Mhm.
'90s. Movies like Another You, which was him with Gene Wilder, who was like his comedic soulmate.
Mhm.
Uh, Unfortunately, showed kind of how we were losing Richard Pryor. Although he has a really wonderful small role in David Lynch's Lost Highway. So he still was kind of kicking around a bit, but the '80s he was kind of like cashing in.
Yeah.
So he was doing these like big budget comedies, big scale comedies, and
Not that subtle.
no, none subtle, and none of them really tapped into what made him so great.
Right.
He's very good in this. He's funny, but really the movies that did him best were the ones he did early with Gene Wilder. Silver Streak was a great one. Where these two together were just
Mm.
like, lightning and thunder in one package.
Mhm.
John Candy, maybe one of the great supporting actors we ever had in terms
Mhm.
of whenever he showed up, and he was only a lead in a handful of films like Uncle Buck, but as a supporting character, fantastic.
Mhm.
Always elevated whatever
And
movie he
yeah,
was in, no matter how silly the movie
it made it
was.
fun because the reality is the Richard Pryor character is a little sad. Like,
Yeah,
right? It's a little sad. And then John Candy's his buddy and is trying to help, but also kind of enjoying the whole. Like, wow, this
right.
is kind of ridiculously fun. It gets this like his necklace. It looks like the tiki
Oh,
god
I
thing.
I think it's a catcher's mask. When you were that age, you first watched it. What do you think you would have tried to spend the money on as a kid in order to waste it with no value after
I
the
can't
fact?
remember if travel was allowed. It doesn't come up.
Oh, right.
Because my first thing is if somebody gave me $1 million and I didn't need to keep it, or $30 million in this case, I'd be like traveling around the world. Like
First class.
I would, I don't know. I always say I would get a PhD and travel around the world. So
In a month.
in a month. Well, I guess I couldn't, but I guess you could. You could theoretically hire tutors and get a PhD, but probably not. So traveling, like shows, entertainment, things that, you can get, whatever, box seats for something.
Right.
And he didn't do that, right? He didn't do that. Everything he was doing, they were like strange choices, right? And I'm coming in thinking,
Well, running for mayor was not, that was the smartest choice I think he made in order to burn through money.
yes. Yes,
think how many hundreds of millions of dollars was spent on the most recent
But
presidential
had he
campaign.
won, they said that would be an asset and that would be a
Right.
problem because that would be a salary.
But he was smart. He withdrew, right?
Yeah.
So then that was a non-issue. It's funny. As a kid, I was thinking like, okay, well, hiring the Yankees would be kind of cool. That makes sense as a 10-year-old. But now, I'm not 10. Don't worry how old I am. The mega yacht that they used in Succession. Feel like, okay, I'll rent that for a couple weeks.
Mhm.
That alone, I think, would burn through $30 million.
I think the fantasy version that I think about the movie from back when we were kids is Overboard.
Oh,
the
right,
boat
right,
in the
right.
closet. That I'm thinking about, when somebody comes into a lot of money, right, which happens in real life all the time.
Right.
How difficult it is to find people that you trust, right? Because a lot of the people that were even brought in to say, hey, Monty's spending all this money, you need to help him. He would say, great, here, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to triple your salary. And they'd be like, okay. And so.
Right, no one stole from him. You realize? No.
A little bit. I mean, well, the photographer, but like.
Yeah, but he like put like stuff.
Yeah. But
like the people who came in to manage his money, there wasn't like a Bernie Madoff amongst the bunch. Like no one got him. And it was funny because
they all screwed him over a little bit. But you're right. Nobody walked away. One of the plots in the original, and I think in the book, I'm not positive about the book, but in the 40-something movie, is that he puts his money in a bank that's failing.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. That's not backed by the government, which I thought was sort of interesting. But I do believe, this happens. I know a lot of financial advisors and lawyers, and the first thing you're supposed to do when you inherit money is to make sure you have people you trust, right?
Right. And John Candy was that, right? John Candy was, they have a really beautiful moment at the end where John Candy is his ride or die. He's like, I put aside some money, so we'll be okay. We'll go we'll go fishing. We'll get a house. And it's a sweet moment because at that moment he actually does think he's going to get the 300 million, and you realize he John Candy has passed every test that was thrown at him in this film, and he's also great at heckling as a catcher, which to me is, the only reason to be a catcher is that because it's bad. It's hard on the hips, it's hard on the knees, but getting to make fun of hitters while they're trying to swing,
funny. Yeah.
So he did find out, again, what he really knew from minute one was this was like in some ways the real love story of this movie.
Right.
It's John Candy and Richard Pryor.
And he's enjoying the fun. Like he's having fun with it, but he's also trying to help.
Richard Pryor's pained.
But
right.
Does really stop him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, right? And
no one gets him committed, which they threatened to at one point.
Yeah.
No one follows up.
Earlier version, he goes, "Oh, psychiatrist, like that actually, they charge a lot. We should do that." I don't know, but I don't think they did it, but they did reference it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think there is something to be said as when this happens, right? This does happen in real life all the time, and especially when someone's younger. So I think the choice in the 80s to make it an older person, not old, but like, I was in his 40s.
Well, hitting 40,
yeah.
Right, and end of his career, like
different than the original book. He's 25.
Oh, right, and fresh from the war, right?
In the book is 20. He's 25. In the movie we saw, it's fresh from the war, about to turn 30.
And it was also like, right, it's post World War II, and
a different thing.
And so there's also a whole other thing, this notion of now you have a chance to do everything you would ever want at a cost. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone premise, right? It's like careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Although the irony is he never wished for this.
Right. And I think in all the versions, the person who gets the money isn't somebody who was particularly money hungry, wasn't well off, but
wasn't greedy, wasn't
right.
Like
they paint him as a sort of an innocent,
right,
in all of them,
with a crappy uncle who's trying
to
trying to test someone who did nothing wrong.
Yes.
It's not like
yes.
Easy Money. So like Easy Money is one where he's a mess, and then his mother-in-law has a chance to redeem him. So there's a real specificity to why it's him.
Right, right, right.
But in
Which,
that one, he doesn't get the money until the end. Oh shoot, spoiler. Sorry, it's your fault. You had 40 some odd years to
still
watch that
on
movie.
board.
Well, and it was funny. The 80s was that generation of money. It was Reagan. It was Up with America, America F Yeah, if you know the song. And so you had movies like, Easy Money. Again, he had to get to
It's
the
also
money.
class, right? It's
Right,
like
right,
the
right, right.
money.
Back to school.
Yeah.
Caddyshack. Hey, it's a parking lot.
You can't buy me love.
Can't buy me love. Right.
It's like a tiny, tiny, tiny version of it.
Well, then,
Right?
and then TV, you had Silver Spoons, you had Different Strokes. So this idea of like, let's just throw money at it, as a big plot point in a
But
lot of
somebody
these.
coming, moving up, right? I guess
Right, 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 right.
kind of stuff. Like,
And you're saying the class,
yeah,
and just because you have money doesn't mean you have class. I think is a great running thing in this, where the way he's spending money is so ridiculous. He puts all this money into a hotel room that he's renting, and then I could die here. Great, take it all away.
yeah,
So he only has that moment, and then at the end, it's actually a pretty exciting scene
yeah.
where it's like the clock is ticking. Can he get rid of the $20,000?
Right, that they held for him. So, yeah, this is the people trying to sabotage. That is the
Sabotage.
word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah, trying to sabotage this because they're supposed to, the bank basically gets the money, and that's also a problem, right? It's like you don't want your um trustee to be the person who gets the money if somebody else fails.
Right, right, right.
And this is a real
This is the
problem, right? This is like a real
conflict
thing.
of interest is very strong in this
Yeah.
one. No, one last thing I'll say about this as we wrap up our rapid fire discussion of Brewster's Millions. One, if you're watching this, feel free to write below there, wherever, like how you would spend $30 million without having
Yeah.
anything to show for it. The more creative, the better. So at the end of this, I remember
Mhm.
there was the TV version, right? So when we were young, a million years back, they would put these on like broadcast TV, UHF channels, and they would cut out things for time or for content. And the end where it's like, send them to the showers, you're gonna need a big towel. And then he starts singing the blues, representing, I guess, the guys in jail for fraud. But the TV version, for some reason, ended on the line, "You're gonna need a big towel." So that became a quote between me and a
Really?
couple of my friends. Yeah,
I didn't even hear the
you're gonna
line.
need a big towel, and because of all the lines to end a movie, it might be the worst
What does
line to
that
end on.
mean?
And then you watch the rest of it; it's actually not much better. It's just him walking off singing the blues while they're in jail. The idea of they're in
The
jail.
speakers are getting pulled away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not even, they're still in the room. He sings the blues and it cuts to an exterior shot, and that's the end of the movie. So it's slightly better than Get a Big Towel,
Yeah.
but it's still not very
Big towel?
after that moment of he gets the money, you think you would have some kind of great payoff, but it's almost like
He doesn't kiss the girl, right? Like you think he's gonna. I mean, they're together probably,
Yeah.
but like there's no like big kiss. There's no big like
nope.
I'm gonna buy like what he's gonna actually do
No.
with the real money.
John Candy doesn't find out. So I wonder that dog is agreeing with us. And I think in the end, it's almost like they ran out of film.
Yeah.
Like they spent all their money already.
I
Blurry dog is here for you. I'm leaving that in. Anyways, any last parting words for Iggy or
Well,
Lauren?
I think we should put together our own budget of what we would spend money. The
30 million on.
30 million on today, or we could raise it if we want to based on inflation. What we'd spend the money on with nothing to show for it.
Which I think is how we live our lives anyway. We don't really have much to show. We seem to spend. I guess we have that dog, but he was a rescue. The other dog was a little pricier. But listen, we appreciate you watching this. We were going to call this Two Connors and a Mic. But the truth is, Geekscape, there's so much fun stuff floating around here. So click around, go some. Oh, I don't even know where it is. Somewhere on here. Maybe it'll pop up on the screen. But also, you could see me over at Marvel Movie Talk or the Geekscape Book Club. or basically, I don't know, whenever Christian Blatt wants to thaw me, put me back to work, I'll be there.
Perfect.
And you can follow me at
Yeah.
Count Eric Conner, EricConner, over on Instagram and X. And I don't know, do you want anyone to follow you?
The only thing, I'm the nerd here, so it's all about LinkedIn. Lauren Zaslansky Conner
Oh, and
on
you can,
LinkedIn.
and she writes beautiful testimonials and stories. You can learn a lot about Lauren, who's by far
If
the
you have a
coolest.
business and you need some perspective, just give me a call.
That's the woman. If you need help with your $30 million, don't call me, call her. Or Iggy Pop, who just joined in. Well, thank you so much for watching. Any last thoughts? Are you good?
No, thank you. Thank you. And just, make sure you get people you trust around you.
That's right. If you have a John Candy in your life, hold them tight because they're very sweet and they're very special. So thank you for watching.
All right.
Be good.